G'day guys, my name's Dave Tran and welcome to another Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. And by extremely popular demand, today I'll be teaching you how to play More Than Words by Extreme. Now this is a really lovely fingerpicking song. It sounds absolutely amazing. It might be a little tricky for the beginners out there, but it's not super hard. There's just a lot to learn and a lot to remember. So as long as you follow along with the tabs, watch this lesson and have some patience, you should be able to get it. If you want to master your chords back to front, then be sure to head over to guitarzerotohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. Or if you want to take your guitar to the next level, then check out Guitar Zero to Hero Premium, which is my complete step-by-step guitar course where I teach fingerstyle lessons, theory, and other lessons I don't teach here on YouTube. Now for the basics of this song, you won't need a capo, but you will need to detune your guitar down a half step. Now you can play it in standard tuning as well, but if you're playing along with the original recording, it won't sound right. So to tune our guitar down a half step, every string just needs to go down a semitone. So our E will go down to an E flat. Our A will go down to an A flat. Our D to a D flat. G goes to a G flat. Our B goes to a B flat, and our E goes to an E flat. Now in this video, I'll be playing with the Cole Clark Angel 2 here in Blackwood. If you want to find out more information about Cole Clark guitars, there's a link in the description below. So for the fingerpicking basics, our thumb will take care of the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings. And our index, middle, and ring finger should pluck the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings respectively. They shouldn't pluck any other strings other than the ones they've been assigned to. Now for our intro, we have 2 lines of tab, and we're going to start with the G chord shape. So we'll start by plucking the 6th string, and then we'll pluck the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings all together. So you'll need to use all 3 fingers like a claw to sort of pluck up on those strings. Now on the 2 beat, we'll need to do a percussive slap. Now to do that, we'll just drop our picking hand onto the strings like this. Now most of that sound will actually come from the side of your thumb hitting the bass notes, and that string will then hit the metal strips which give that sound. So it doesn't come from your whole hand dropping on the strings, it's mainly from the thumb. The other tip I have for this as well is that when you do drop your hand down, you want to get your fingers already into position under the strings that they're assigned to. Because if you slap and you don't have your fingers into position, you'll need to quickly get them there, which will be really inefficient. So when you drop your hand for that slap, your fingers need to slide into their positions. Now on the end beat after the 2, we'll be pinching the 5th string, 2nd, and 3rd strings together. Like that. And then on the end beat after the 3, we'll be hitting the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings by themselves, and then slapping on the 4 beat. And so far we have this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now on the end beat after the 4, this is where we're going to change chords, and we're going to go to a C add 9, which is really easy. So you just move your index and middle finger down 1 string, C add 9. So you'll notice that the chord changes on the end beat after the 4, and this is pretty consistent throughout the whole song. And this is what might throw a lot of beginners off, because the chord changes aren't on the 1 beat, which is what you'll naturally try to do, but they're actually on the end beat after the 4, or the up beat. So on that end beat after the 4, we're pinching the 5th, 3rd, and 2nd strings together, or that C add 9, then our top 3 strings, and then slapping on the 2. After the slap, we'll hit the bass note by itself, and then we'll pinch the bass note and the top 3 strings all together. And then we'll pinch again, but we'll just go the 2nd and 3rd strings in the bass note, and then slap on the 4. And all together for the C add 9. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Again, we're going to change chords on the end beat after the 4 here. So on the upbeat, we're going to an A minor 7. So an A minor 7 is just the same as an A minor, except you lift your ring finger up off that shape. We're going to pinch our bass note in the 3rd and 2nd strings together. So this is what I'm going to call a semi-pinch, where we're not pinching all 3 of our high strings, just the 3rd and 2nd. So I'll call that a semi-pinch. It's not a technical term, it's just something I'm using to differentiate between hitting the bass note 2nd and 3rd and the bass note 2nd, 3rd, and 1st. So there's a difference between the two. I'll call plucking 4 strings at the same time a full pinch, and 3 strings at the same time a semi-pinch. So A minor 7 for the semi-pinch on the end beat after the 4, and then we'll hit the top 3 strings, slap on the 2, and then bass note by itself, and then your pinky finger will go on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. We'll do a full pinch, and then a semi-pinch, and then a slap. And all together for the A minor 7, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Then we're going to change chords again to a C shape on the end beat after the 4. So we go to a C chord shape. From the A minor 7 is really easy because we just have our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. We're going to do a semi-pinch on the end beat after the 4, and then on the end beat after the 1, just the top 3 strings, and then a slap on the 2. After that slap on the 2, we're going to change to our D chord shape and pluck the bass note, 1st and 2nd strings together. Then 3rd string, then you take your pinky finger, put it on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, so it's a D sus4, and then pluck the 1st and 2nd strings together, slap on the 4 beat. So notice how there's a consistent pattern here where most chord changes occur on the end beat after the 4, on the upbeat, and slaps always generally occur on the 2 beat and the 4 beat. And from that C to the D, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So that's pretty much everything we have for the first line in this intro. The very last note though goes back to a G chord, and we're doing a semi-pinch there. Notice how that is basically though just the start of our second line of tab. So that first pinch on the G at the end is on the upbeat. So that's the change, and we hold that G up till the end beat of the 1 where we pluck our top 3 strings there and continue on. We didn't have this in the first line though because we started on the 1 beat because it's the start of the song. Try not to get too confused, just take it bit by bit, but really try to understand where the beats occur, and using a metronome will really help with this. So altogether the intro sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. On the end beat after the 4, we go back to a G chord, and we're going to do that semi-pinch there. But that's going to basically just lead us into the verse. Now the first 2 lines of the verse we've basically already learnt. It's just the same chord progression and picking that we had in that intro, so nothing new to learn there. The only thing that differs here is though at the very end we're going to go to an E minor chord shape because this will take us to the second part of the verse. So I'll just play from the C chord to demonstrate. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now we get to the second part of the verse, and there's 4 lines of tab here. So following on from our semi-pinch that we had in the previous section, we're going to hit the top 3 strings all together on the end beat after the 1, slap on the 2, then the semi-pinch again, but we're going to use our 5th string as the bass note, and then hit the top 3 strings again, slap on the 4, and then we're going to change chords to our A minor 7. So to go to an A minor 7 from this E minor, just lift your index finger and take it to its next position. We're going to do a semi-pinch here, so just the 3rd and 2nd strings and the bass note, and then top 3 strings, slap on the 2, bass note by itself, then full pinch, but we take our pinky finger, put it on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, and semi-pinch, slap. Then on the end beat after the 4, we're just going to hit the open 4th string by itself, which will lead us into our next chord. And for our first 2 bars, we'll have this. And I'm going to start from that first E minor, which is in the previous section. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Moving on to the 3rd bar, we're going to be doing a full pinch on this D chord. So bass note in all 3 top strings, slap on the 2, and then we're going to do the full pinch again on the end beat after the 2. The end beat after the 3, we'll lift our index finger, so D sus2 here, just hit the top 3 strings, slap on the 4. So in total for the D chord, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. On the end beat after 4, we're changing to a G chord. So we're going to do a semi pinch, then a full pinch, then slap on the 2 beat. Then we'll go to a D/F sharp. We're going to do a semi pinch here, and then a full pinch, but we have the open first string, like that, slap on the 4 beat. And then after the 4 beat, we go back to an E minor, semi pinch. And that takes us into our next line. So in total for the first line here of the second half of the verse, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 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 and... Now moving on to our second line, the first 2 bars are exactly the same as the first line we had. When we go to that D chord though, we now go to a D7 chord instead of a normal D. So D7 chord like this, we're going to be doing a full pinch, slap on the 2 beat, and then lift our ring finger, do a full pinch again on the end beat after the 2. We're going to do the top 3 strings on the end beat after the 3 and slap. Then we go to our G7 chord, so ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th, and index finger goes on the 1st fret of the 1st string. We're going to be doing a semi pinch, so bass note's our 6th string here, and then top 3 strings, slap, and then we're going to do another semi pinch, except our bass note is the 5th string here, and then top 3 strings, slap, and then change chords to our next chord, which is a C chord. But just for that G7 by itself, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the C chord is a semi pinch on that end beat after the 4. After that, we'll just hit the top 3 strings, slap on the 2 beat. After the slap, we'll just hit the bass note by itself, and then we'll take our pinky finger, put it on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, do a semi pinch, and then a semi pinch again, but you'll lift your pinky finger, and then we'll slap on the 4 beat. Our next chord shape is a C minor, like this. So it's a 5th string bar chord, C minor. And total for the C chord just by itself, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we go to our C minor, do a semi pinch there, and then top 3 strings, slap, and then bass note of our C minor, and then full pinch twice. So just to recap, the difference between a semi pinch and a full pinch. For our semi pinch, we're going to be hitting a bass note and the 2nd and 3rd strings together, just these 2 fingers. But a full pinch will be using all 3 fingers, so top 3 strings and whatever bass note. Now those aren't actually technical terms, but I'm just making them up so there's a way to differentiate between the 2 plucks. And so far for the C minor, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we're going to go to a G chord shape. So on that end beat after the 4, we're just hitting the bass note of the G by itself. There's no pinch here. So bass note by itself, then top 3 strings, slap. And then this is a little bit of a tricky part. So we start with the bass note by itself, the G chord, and then 2 full pinches. Then we go down with our index finger to the 2nd fret of the 6th string. Then we go to an E minor 7, so just take these 2 fingers and put them on the 2nd fret. At the same time, we still need to keep our ring and pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd and 1st strings. And then you're going to do a full pinch on that E minor 7. And so far from that G chord shape, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... After that final pinch, we're going to be slapping on the 1 beat, and then do a full pinch, but your bass note's on the 5th string. Slap again, and then do another full pinch, but the bass note's now on the 4th string. Do a slap again, and then another full pinch, but bass note's on the 5th string. So for the last 4 plucks, it's all based around an E minor chord shape. And we're just alternating different bass notes. We start with that one as our bass note, then we go to that one, 5th string, and then we go to 4th string and back to 5th string. And in between each one, there's a slap. So N1, N2, N3, N4. And that's it for the 3rd line of tab. And to finish this verse, we just go to an A minor 7, strum that down, and then a D7, hold that out for a bar as well, and that ends our verse. So altogether, the second half of the verse sounds like this, starting on that N beat after the 4 for the E minor 7. So that's it for the verse, hopefully not too overwhelming. I will just take it section by section, making sure that you master the first bit before moving on to the next. Okay, moving on to our chorus, we'll start with the G chord here. Now this is one particular point where we have a new section, so we're starting our chord on the 1 beat and not on the end beat after the 4. So we'll start with our bass note just by itself, then the top 3 strings, slap on the 2, then do a semi pinch, but we're using our 5th string as the bass note, and then top 3 strings again, slap on the 4, and then we do another semi pinch on the 4 beat, but we're going back to our 6th string as the bass note. Then our top 3 strings, slap a semi pinch again, but we again alternate back to the 5th string, and then the top 3 strings and a slap on the 4. So our bass note is continually just alternating between the 6th string and the 5th string here. And altogether for the first 2 bars, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. On the end beat after the 4, at the final bar, we're just going to hit an open 6th string. We'll hit the open 6th string whilst we're getting into our next position, which is a D/F sharp. We're going to do a semi pinch here, and then our top 3 strings, and then the semi pinch again, but this is on the 3 beat, and then the top 3 strings again on the end beat after the 3. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and. So altogether, and 1 and 2 and 3 and. On the 4 beat, we'll slap. So interesting note, we don't actually do a slap there on the 2 beat in this particular bar. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we go to our E minor. We'll do a full pinch on that on the end beat after 4. And then we'll slap on the 1, do a semi pinch on the E minor still, but we use our 5th string as the bass note. Slap again, and then we go to a B minor 7. So it's the same as a B minor bar chord shape, except you lift your pinky finger. We'll do a full pinch, then hit the 4th string by itself, and then the top 3 strings, and then slap on the 4. So from the E minor, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And then we move to a C chord shape for our next chord. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Then we go to a C. C for a semi pinch, and then we hit top 3 strings, slap on the 2, hit the C bass note by itself, full pinch, semi pinch, slap on the 4, and then stay on the C for another semi pinch, and then top 3 strings, slap on the 2, and then full pinch, slap, and then we go to a C/B, so just move your middle finger down to the 2nd fret of the 5th string, semi pinch there, slap, and then go to an A minor 7 and hit that on the end beat after the 4. So there's an extra slap there in that 2nd bar. And in total for the C chord, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So after the A minor 7, we hit the top 3 strings, slap on the 2 beat, bass note by itself, full pinch, semi pinch, slap on the 4 beat, and then we go to a D chord, full pinch, and then top 3 strings, slap, full pinch again, and then lift your middle finger, and then top 3 strings and slap again. So in total for the second line from the C chord, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we go back to our G chord shape on that end beat after the 4 for a semi pinch. And the third line of tab is exactly the same as the first line of tab, except of course for the fact that our chord starts on the upbeat instead of on the downbeat. And then our fourth line of tab is exactly the same as the second line of tab with one exception. So after our A minor and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, we don't play anything on that end beat after the 4, we just go to a D7 and strum that and let it ring out. And altogether for the chorus, it will sound like this. So that's it for the first chorus. Now the rest of the song is really easy because we've learnt the bulk of it. Everything else is just a bit of a variation from what we've already learnt. So after the first chorus, there's a break section, and this is very similar to the intro except for the last 2 bars. So from our C add 9 in the second line of tab, instead of changing to the A minor 7 on the end beat after the 4, we'll hit that A minor 7 on the 1 beat, but we'll strum it just like that and hold it out for a bar. Then we'll go to a D7, strum that, and then on the end beat after the 3 and the 4 beat, we'll tap our guitar. So you can just use this part of your hand, just the bottom palm bit, and then tap it onto the body of your guitar to get that percussive element. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in total the break will just sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that's it for the break. Now we get to second verse. First half of the second verse is exactly the same. Now second half of the second verse, we have a bit of a variation. Now you don't need to play these variations. You can basically just repeat the first verse and the first chorus if you wanted to. But these are just some additional variations that Nuno does in that studio recording. Now the variation will happen in this first line of the second half of the verse. So when we go to our G, instead of plucking this, we're now going to start strumming it. So we're going to strum, mute again, and then go to our D/F sharp, strum, mute, and then go to our E minor, strum that, and then hold that out. On the next bar, instead of slapping on the 2 beat, we're just going to strum the E minor. We're going to strum it though and just quickly mute it so it doesn't ring it out. Now from the G chord, it will sound like this. And then we're going to do 2 knocks after that. So again, it's similar to what we had in that break. So 2 knocks on the 3 end beat. On the 4 beat, we'll do a normal slap, and then on the end beat after the 4, we'll just strum an A minor 7 and then slap on the 2, and then everything else is exactly the same as we've learnt in the previous verse. So just those first 2 lines. Now the only other variation in the second verse is just at the very end. So when we hit the A minor 7, that's the same. When we go to a D7, we hold that out for 2 beats and then go up to an A diminished / D. So it's the same shape, just move your fingers up to the 5th and 4th frets. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... For our final chorus, you can play the exact same thing as our first chorus. And to end the song, we're just gonna strum the G chord twice. And that is it to More Than Words by Extreme. So just to recap, a lot of the chord changes in this song happen on the end beat after the 4. So you need to be wary of that. And I would just suggest taking it one section at a time, master that before you move on to the next, because there's a lot to remember here. So ideally you wanna have the tabs right in front of you while you're watching this video and just learning it bit by bit. Another thing I want to note as well is that when Nuno actually plays this song, his finger picking style is a tiny bit different. When he's hitting the top 3 strings before a slap, he actually just uses his index finger like that as sort of a pick to upstrum those top 3 strings. Instead of plucking them with, he just glides the index finger across them and then does a slap. But that is a little trickier to do. That's his own sort of technique and style. You can try that if you want. So for example, the intro would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So he uses that finger just before slaps. But if you're a beginner, I would just stick to the method I taught you. Once you get more advanced, you can start trying to play like Nuno. So now I'll be playing through the song in its entirety, and I'll have a vocal track on top for some context. So feel free to play this back as many times as you'd like to practice play along to and see how you go.
Saying I love you is not the
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Be sure to head over to guitarzerotohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. And if you want to take your guitar and your fingerpicking to the next level, then check out Guitar Zero to Hero Premium, which is my complete step-by-step guitar course where I teach fingerstyle tutorials, scales, theory, and stuff that I don't teach here on YouTube. If you've enjoyed this, then please hit that like button, hit subscribe, click the little notification bell as well so that you don't miss out on my updates. Please leave your thoughts, comments, questions, and requests down below, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.